Van, I got, David was telling me that my job is to piss off 85% of the population. So I have to kind of back up for just a minute and explain what I mean by that. I'm reading a book right now, and I don't know the title because that's not important to me, but the content of it, there was a quote this morning that I read that reminded me of you. And the quote was, I do not have a definitive formula for success, but I do have a guaranteed way for you to fail. And that is trying to be everything to everybody. And that's what I meant with David when I said, my goal is to find people who believe as I do. My goal is not to make everyone like me. I've been through therapy for 20 years trying to accomplish that, and that didn't work. So to clarify David's comment, I want to simply go out and find people who believe as I do. I got out of the convincing and chasing game several years ago, but I wanted to clear that up because David mentioned that in our
I wanted to have a little bit of fun and throw a bomb in there saying, I can't believe you say that. And then have you both figure out that you're coming from the same place with using different thinking.
Well, David, remember when we were together in Phoenix? What did I tell you? If there's 2,200 top of the table agents, that means there's 2,200 different ways to make top of the table. Yep. None of the secret is to find your uniqueness, what sets you apart from everybody else. It's that you stand out from everybody else, that not that you're like everybody else. And for me, the most comfortable way was to learn questions and to, I'm so interested in other people that I ask them questions. I don't have a dynamic personality like Tom Love or Jim Ruta. I just don't. I'm very shy. I'm very much a loner. And so I had to find a way to get past all of that. And the person that trained me said the fastest way to build self-esteem is to make a decision to do something for somebody else. And the only way I could figure out how to do something for somebody else was to ask them. And so it made everything so much more fun. It's not adversarial. I laugh and giggle all day long. I can't believe it. I just opened the mail coming back from 3 days, and there's like 25 checks, and you go, my God, I'm old, I'm overweight, I'm ugly, and people are sending me money. I don't get it.
We're eating up all our good stuff here, Van. Cut it out.
So we haven't even reached the top of the top of the hour.
Top of the hour
to start.
So what do we? I think we're all done, though. I think we're all finished. The last 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out. We appreciate your time. Thanks a lot. And come on, tune in tomorrow when Tom Love will say seven things and end the whole day too. So, oh gosh, it'll be great fun.
As long as we're talking about this, there's also a way. Think of he's the moderator, but David Kinder's got personality coming out of his earlobes. He's got more personality in his little finger than I have in my whole body. And that can be, if you don't know how to use it, David and Thomas and Jim have found a way to have this exquisite personality, which can overwhelm people if you don't do that correctly either. You have to find a way to show that that great personality is for the benefit of the person you're talking to. And it's so that the outcome is the same, it's just the approach is a little different. That's all.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. It's funny. I spoke to a very successful top of the table producer just this week here in Toronto, and she was telling me, and she, by the way, Masters of Law degree. She's got all the designations you can imagine, like right up to here. I said, "What's the biggest thing advisors need to do?" She says they need to stop telling people how good they are, and just help them out. And I think that's kind of to your point. You know what? You lots of things, lots of talent, but you've got to focus on your client.
Wow. Okay. So we just had 5 hours worth of training the past 10 minutes. This is great. And I was halfway paying attention because I figured out that I don't have my own permissions to broadcast this to Facebook, the group that I'm the admin for. So I was trying to wrestle with that. So I went live on YouTube and I've got the link in Facebook so people can log in there. But let's get started. We have plenty of people. We got 25 participants in Zoom right now. And I'm just excited to see where this conversation is going to go. This is going to be great. Now, I'm going to hit the record button, which also means that anybody that does not want to be filmed or recorded in any manner, you'll want to drop off now. And I'll say that once, and I'm good there. I'm going to record to the cloud. Woohoo, there's our disclosure. Okay, so everybody, welcome. This has been an event in the works here. I'm really excited. I'm David Kinder, if you don't know who I am, which is kind of strange of how much notoriety I've been getting lately. I'm a little surprised. It's a little freaky for me. But I'm really excited to be the moderator of this open panel. Tom and I talked about this about, 6 weeks ago. We started reaching out, and one of the neatest things about our industry is that when you reach out to people who are successful, they're almost always willing to give back and contribute and help. You'll find that just about everywhere. And so I'm excited to introduce our panelists. And yeah, technically, do I really need to introduce them? No, but we're going to do the honor of doing that, mainly because there's some stuff that I didn't know. So I'm going to start with Tom. Tom has been in the life insurance industry for more than 40 years. And you might not know this, but Tom actually has a degree in life insurance back when they did degrees in life insurance. He was told by many that if he could survive in the business long enough, he would be witnessing the largest transfer of wealth in the country's history. And his task was to come up with a concept people would want to hear as they approach retirement age. He's a two-time presenter at the $1 Million Roundtable. He leads a group of advisors from around the country, teaching them a strategy of how to build wealth off the radar screen of the IRS using the current tax code. So that is Tom Love. We're glad to have him.
Thank you.
And
thank you, Jim.
We're going to have fun. Van, I don't think you really need much of an introduction either, but this year, January 23rd, marks Van's 47th year in the business, active member of the $1 Million Roundtable, having qualified for the $1 Million Roundtable, core to the table, and top of the table for the past 30 years. There's not too many people that can say that. Van was awarded the Milwaukee NAIFA Distinguished Service Award in 2003. In 2010, Van was the proud recipient of the AJAC, I can never say that, Newsom Distinguished Service Award for NAIFA in Wisconsin. It's also qualified for National Sales Achievement Award, National Quality Award, the Health Insurance Quality Award, and has qualified many times for the National Association of Health Underwriters Leading Producers Roundtable. Van was selected by Senior Market Advisor magazine as the 2010 Advisor of the Year. Van believes that the next decade will be the greatest time ever for insurance and financial service professionals. So I'm thrilled to have Van here, one of my heroes. Pleased to introduce Jim. Now, Jim, I've been following you for a while, but half the stuff that you sent me, I did not know. This is amazing. So let me go from here. Preserve, promote, and propel the life insurance advisor business is Jim Ruta's mission. A retired insurance advisor and executive manager of a 250 advisor agency in Toronto, Canada. Jim started as a 22-year-old agent and today is a global insurance industry thought leader. He has spoken 4 times at the $1 Million Roundtable, the annual meeting, including the main platform and at major events around the world. He is a best-selling author, How to Win Sales and Increase Profits, and Don't Worry, Retire Happy with Tom Hegna and Mike Morrow. Also an industry media personality and co-founder and host of the Canada Sales Congress, now CSC Television. Jim is Canadian ambassador for lifehappens.org. What you don't know about Jim, he spent the first 6 months of his life in hospital with a suspected case of polio. He is a classically trained violinist. Hey, I used to play the clarinet. We got to play sometime. So we'll figure
Amen, brother.
out. A trained emergency medical technician, a licensed private pilot, a former special constable, alpine ski instructor, and a ski patroller. Jim coaches multi-million-dollar professionals like top of the table members like Van Miller. So we've got Van's coach, guys. Okay. George Sigurdson, who I've heard his name. I've never heard him before. You're just talking about him earlier. So now I got to get familiar with another icon. And Mark Halpern. He shows how you can model their systems and practices and become an industry icon too. Jim Ruta and AdvisorCraft have been helping life insurance professionals become top performers since 1999. And by the way, if you're not following Jim on Facebook and on YouTube, you need to. He's got so many great videos, and Jim goes live about every Monday for a quick 5-minute thing, which I consider at the advanced view of the basics. It brings us right back down to what we need to be doing on a regular basis. So I'm thrilled. Thank you all so much for being here. Here's the way I'm hoping for this to go is that I got about 15 questions that have been submitted. Yes, Tom? Okay.
Yeah, remember we talked about this. I want to make an announcement before we get into this. I am the luckiest guy in the world to be here with these two guys. I have all of my life just considered myself to be a salesman and just stay focused on stuff that works. I never thought I would be on the same podium as these two individuals. I don't know them very well. This is the first time we've done a Zoom meeting together. When we are done with our meeting today, I do want to talk about some way that we can collaborate even further. I do believe what David was saying, when you talk to people who are top of the table producers that have a personality, they do want to share, they do want to give back. And I want to thank these two, because this was just a thought with David 6-7 weeks ago. Wouldn't it be cool if we could do something to give back to the industry with not only a guy that taught someone how to do 300 lives in 3 months, but and I am the of all the people here, the smallest producer, and I am thrilled to be in their company. This is going to be fun. I expect to laugh my ass off over the next hour and a half or 2 hours, because the thing that I want to do is I want to learn from these people. No question is off limits. Every 2 weeks, David will talk about, I do something called real talk at the table, or fireplace chat or something, but anyone can come and ask any question about the industry, product, company, whatever, and I'll give you an opinion, and we know what opinions are like with other orifices. So I am thrilled to be here, and this is going to be fun. I hope this turns out to be good enough that when you're done, you give these guys a standing ovation. Stand up on your picture here, your camera, and give these guys a standing ovation, because I would like to do this again. I'm done. Thank you, David. I'll let you take over.
If you stand up, please make sure you're appropriately covered. I'm just
please wear pants.
Yes. Yeah. I have a standing desk. I'm already set. So what we'd like to do is, I've got these questions that have been submitted, but by all means, the reason to do this on Zoom is so that you can all submit your own questions. So I want to alternate between submitted and whatever you're asking. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of overlap. Let's just have some fun. I'm really excited for this. So Van, you actually mentioned right before we started recording, the one question you wanted me to make sure I asked, it's the first one. If you, and this obviously for all three of us, if you had the chance to impart one parcel of knowledge to your younger self, what would that be? What do you wish you knew when you're first getting started?
Well, thank you. It's a configuration of several things. First of all, when we bring new people into the business, we tell them they have to study. I have lots of agents that tell me, I can't present this policy until I know everything there is about it, because I have to teach people about life insurance. And I say, so you've made a decision that you'd like to be paid like a teacher. That's not what we do. We inspire people to take action. And the only way to do that is by asking them questions that will inspire them to go through their own process of discovery. And so what I wish somebody would have told me in the beginning is, first of all, please learn 8 or 10 questions that you can go out anywhere, anytime, any place, and example. I can walk up to anybody, anywhere, anytime, sit next to them at a baseball game, sit next to them in a bar, say, can I ask you a fun question? Is there somebody at the Internal Revenue Service that you just decided you're so madly in love with them that you want to leave them a whole bunch of your money? And do you know why I'm asking you that? Do you realize if you have 2 or more children, it's highly probable that the primary beneficiary of your IRA or your 401k or your 403b is probably going to be the Internal Revenue Service. And by the way, never use IRS or Uncle Sam ever again. If you do, I'll come and find all 36 of you and kill you myself. This is very important. He's not a member of my family, and I don't want to make it pretty. I want to make it hurt. The Internal Revenue Service. The government is coming to get your money. as Tom Hagner so succinctly teaches us, the words matter. And so the first thing I would do is learn a bunch of questions. And then second, I think the key to the industry is not study, it's practice. Professionals practice. They become instinctive, where they don't even have to think about it. Let me give you a quick example. Customer says, oh, Van, I really understand everything you're saying, but boy, I don't think we can afford it. And I say back right away without even thinking about it, boy, I totally understand why you'd say something like that, but can I ask you a question? If you can't afford the premium, gosh, how the heck would your family or your business afford this problem? It changes the context, and I wasn't offensive and I wasn't adversarial. I just asked them another question. And finally, I would have mentors. The key to this whole industry is, I'm 48 years in age and 31 years in a row now top of the table, and I still have a coach. And he still finds lots of things that I need improvement on. And he's very kind and loving and looks after me and says, hey, you could do this a little better. Have you thought about trying this? Or would you like to do this? And that's Jim Ruta for me. And so those are the things I would do if I was starting over in the business. And please, no matter where you are in the business, let me quick say this. I'm not an overnight success. I failed for the first 16 years I was in the business. In fact, I was such a lousy insurance agent. I'm pretty sure I'm now the reason there's compliance in that industry. I mean, now it's really bad. And I didn't have the courage to change. What the three of us are sitting here asking me to do is, oh, we think you should change and do this and you can do this better. Well, I was a coward. I didn't have the courage to change. And I lucked out. I got fired. When I got fired, I had painted myself into a corner where I didn't have anywhere else to turn. And a man saved me. And he taught me what you see today. This is not who I was for the first 16 years I was in the business. I was an ugly, hateful, hurtful, terrifyingly awful insurance agent. And he saved me. And I could easily start crying right in front of you. I owe him forever. And when he passed away 11 years ago, and I was very angry at him, I asked him, I said, please, how do I ever repay you? You have to listen. This is really important. And then I'll shut up for the rest of the talk. But you gotta really get this. I said, Jimmy, how do I ever repay you? One of the things was very personal, but the second thing he said was, I want you to pass it on. And please, everybody listening, I was furious with him. I was angry. I was getting in part of my career where I didn't really want to be out there that much anymore. He said, pass it on. Now, do you know who the hardest people in the world to talk to? It's not my customers. It's not prospects. They're easy. Man, I'm running 30 to 50 appointments a week. This is no brainer. The hardest people in the world to talk to are other agents. They're looking to knock you down. They're looking to find something wrong with you. And so I have to study and practice and practice and study so that I can talk to other agents. And what I didn't realize is 11 years later, from the grave, Jimmy is training me. And then he hooked me up with another Jimmy, Jim Ruta, who's still training me. And that's how you continue to grow. You grow and you get bigger and you grow and you get bigger. And I'm lucky. I owe, and I'll do this until the day I die. I want you to understand, I'm going to sell insurance for another 50 years yet. Mark my words, I'll be here 50 years from now, knocking on doors.
Wow.
Kind of a long-winded answer, but that's what I would, even if you're an experienced agent, I would change immediately to asking questions, inspiring people to take action, and I would emulate somebody, a Tom Hagner, a David McKnight, who I adore. I can't. I'm having a stroke right in front of me. Don Blanton, Tom Love. Jesus, if you don't emulate Tom Love, he's being all real shy and humble here. This is one of the best insurance agents in America, period, bar none. Other really big hitters go, geez, I wish I could sell like Tom Love. So please, you have to get this. You have to have some heroes. I have heroes. I have people that I aspire to be like and emulate, and that's what's so spectacular for all of I'm done.
Jim?
Well, nothing much there. Maybe we'll have more luck with Tom Love. I don't know.
I want to hear what you have to say, Jim. If you had to do it all over again, what would you do today? Different.
Well, look,
with
so
as much as you have.
So let me just I'll be a little different than Van, although I agree with Van 100%. One of the things he said I've encapsulated many years ago into a very short phrase, and that is that knowing does not precede doing. And a lot of people think they have to be very, very smart technically to be successful in this business. I don't think that's the case. You got to get out there. You've got to get your knocks. You got to work that out. And that Van is exactly right. You do have to get out there and practice and get the job done. Not to lie, cheat, or steal. Nothing about that, but to make sure you're doing that. But as far as the three things, and there's three things that I've thought about that I think would make a big difference. It would have made a difference to me as I looked at this. And by the way, if I'd really been smart, I'd have never gone into management. I'd have been a top advisor like my buddy George Sigurdsson, who I worked with in Winnipeg going back to the late 70s. So I started in 77, and I knew George then. If I had been smart, I'd have stuck around George more and not have gone into management when they lured me in at the age of 24. But here's the point. Three things. Number one, I would say, look, Ruta, don't be too smart. Don't outsmart yourself out of the success you deserve. Don't think you know how to do this. Just do what you're told. Do the things. There are things that work, and I was maybe a little too well-spoken and could convince my manager back in the day that I also had an opinion. But of course, what the hell do I know about doing this business when you're 22 years old, like I was when I started? You know nothing. It's like John Savage used to say, they say, listen to your kids. And Savage used to say, what the hell can you learn from a 7-year-old? And that's pretty much the way I was a 7-year-old, but they were listening to me. So don't be too smart and outsmart yourself from the success that you really deserve. There are ways to do this. Second thing, I'd say be braver in this business. Believe in yourself more. Don't be so worried about everybody else. We have a habit of overestimating the knowledge, skills, and abilities of others and underestimating our own. That hurts you terribly. Take even more chances than you do, and you have to take chances. Invest in your very biggest dreams. Get out there. Step out in faith that you can make this happen. Don't hide behind something else. And then finally, if I can just say this, to me, it would be buy more cash value life insurance as early as you can. I was told when I started, by the way, the only regret you'll have when you hit 65 about your whole life insurance is that you didn't buy more of it. And I remember going, I bet you that's true. Well, that was 44 years ago. I heard that first time. And now I'm 65 years old. You know what I think? What was I thinking? I should have bought more. And when you buy more, you will sell more. Absolutely the truth. And if I had learned that, if I had understood that, it would have changed everything. It would have, not that I didn't own enough or I didn't own enough for a lot. I did, but I could have done more. I'm thinking, you mentioned George Sigurdsson, a guy, literally one of the best agents in the world in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. There's a guy, think about this, current cash value, $4.9 million cash value on the 59 policies that he owns. His premium annually, over $400,000, all paid personally. Now, in this country, that means you got to gross about 800 just to pay that premium. And that's why he's one of the very best in the world. So, David, if I had just a little package to give myself when I was 22, that was what it would be.
Wow. All right, so here comes the little guy. There's two things that I would recommend. One of them is to stop selling. One of them is to learn how to communicate. Life insurance is the most fascinating financial tool ever invented by man, that people have no clue how good it is, because we've been taught to talk about features and benefits and not the problems that it solves. So the first thing I would do is I would learn how to communicate in a manner that you become a person of interest without talking about a feature and a benefit. honest curiosity will lead you anywhere in the world. I tell people in my group, enthusiasm will get you in every door in the world. Knowledge will keep you in that door, but finesse is going to close the deal. And if you don't know when to start and stop and start and stop and get off the selling mode, you will never succeed in this business. The second thing I would ask you to do, and when I go around the country and I have an audience full of people, I will ask them how many people drove this morning to come to see us. And of course, everybody raises their hand. And the next question is, how many drove on an expressway? And half the people drove on an expressway. The question is, how many times did you put on a blinker to change lanes? You want to be really good in this business? Pick a lane and own it. So that anytime someone thinks about a specific product, oh yeah, that's the guy I have to go see. Do not attempt to appease everyone. You will fail at everything. If my job is to simply find people who believe as I do, the first thing my job is to find out what I believe. And if I cannot articulate what I believe, I will flounder all of my life. But if I know why I'm here, what I'm supposed to do, to whom I'm supposed to do it with, and the benefit they receive from doing business with me, I don't need to sell a thing. People will stand in line to buy what it is that you're trying to sell if you can learn how to explain what it is we're trying to solve, not how good the product is. Illustrations are worthless. Worthless. They're outdated the minute they're dry. It's the strategy, it's the concept, it's the reason why you do things, not the end result. Rate of return means nothing to someone who has a very, very strong net worth. Where your money is so much more important than what it could earn.
Absolutely brilliant. And I've got to echo what Gwen put in the chat here, because she says, I like the point of not being afraid. I got some bad advisor from a guy, or bad advice, I think, from a guy who was working with when I first started and hurt a client. I'm still probably too careful with what I do. And I got to admit, when I was first getting started on the insurance side of our business, I didn't know anything. And yet I had my Series 7, my 66, my CHFC. I thought I was ready and raring to go. Figured out that no one else knew how to position themselves. They didn't know how to quantify the package of results they can give. It made it so much more difficult. But you've hit the nail on the head. We got to know what we're offering, what the results can be, so we can have that firm testimony and conviction behind what we're talking about. Absolutely. And by the way, you're preaching to the choir here, because one of my weak points, and I don't mind broadcasting it, I have a problem getting activated at times. I have no problem sharing that. And so the things you're talking about are absolutely true.
David, can I add one more thing? There was a post recently in Facebook. I live in Nashville, and somebody posted, I have $10,000. Where should I invest it? Yeah, right, man, right? And the response was, if you're serious, I would take that $10,000 and go out and buy a mentor, a business coach, so that you will learn to never ask that question again. And I'm walking proof that works.
I just have to echo everything Tom said in his comments. Tom, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. This is anybody. You could get full value from your time with this meeting by listening to what Tom just said. David.
All right. So I had a question on the YouTube chat that was submitted. It says, tougher to meet with people since Google makes everyone an expert. How do you suggest the best methods to prospect?
May I go first?
Yeah.
Exactly what Van said. Learn to ask questions. Do not go on YouTube saying I'm smart. You don't need to. That's the dumbest way you can approach to be smart. You want to be smart? Intrigue me. Give me a question I didn't know the answer to, and let me think through the process. Don't tell me I'm doing it wrong. Ask me a question in such a manner that I recognize I may not be doing it right. You offend me, we're done. You want to include me in a way that puts me in a better position, I'm in for life. That's how everything you're doing on social media should be in the form of a question. Stop telling people how smart you are and listen to what Van just said.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Oh, look, I think Tom's right. Look, I don't think you compete. I think that's the point. If you're going to compete, you're going to get into all kinds of matches. And over the years, what I've seen is when advisors try to compete with each other, or you're on Google to try to see who's the smartest. I mean, first of all, it's a loser's game. That's not going to, you're not will end well. Instead, you want to be a thought leader. You want to help people out. And I think Tom's point and Van's point is right on. Ask the right questions, intrigue me. And I talk about this on my icon protocol strategy, which is really, you need to be inspired about something. People buy who you are. They buy who you are, not what you're selling. And if you have that energy, if you have that heat, listen to what Tom just did. Tom just laid it down. He got excited. Why? Because it matters to him. And when it matters to you, I don't care who Google thinks is smart. You will attract the people who are like you. Something that was said even before we started this is that you want to work with believers and not with the doubters. And that was, I think, what Tom was getting at in another question that we didn't even get on recording at this point. But you're absolutely right. You're looking for the people who accept and understand what you're doing, that believe as you believe. If you find those people, and that's why prospecting is a job. It's not everybody buys from Tom Love or buys from Van Mueller. Not everybody. Some people are just wrong, and that's okay. But honestly, you really don't want to compete. You want to create your own lane. To go back to what Tom said, get in a lane, specialize in something, and be great at it, and then people will come to you. David?
Van?
Can I share a couple of things? First of all, there's lots of times I sit down with customers right now. Two things. I sit down and I say, before we get started, this is really important. I want you to understand, if we were sitting here 5 years ago, I'd have told you the crash was imminent, and I've been wrong for 5 years. I want to make sure you know that. And then I get myself out of trouble. Watch how easy it is. I say, can I ask you something? Why have I been wrong? Has it been because the government is manipulating the interest rates? Has it been because Wall Street is manipulating the markets? And then I say, it's very important. Don't you get tired of every time you meet somebody like me, they tell you they know all this stuff and it turns out they don't know anything? I say, well, you just have a little fun with me. That's one of my famous transition sentences. You just have a little fun with me. Come on, just mess around with me in this. Here's what I want to ask you. Would it be okay if I could prove to you right now that I don't know anything? We have some fun. Watch. This is really easy. Can I ask you something? The President of the United States, they have access to more tools, more information, more advisors, more everything than anybody on planet Earth. And then I stop and I look at the customer and I say, so with all of that ability, have they been able to fix the economy? They go, they laugh. And then I say, and the head of the Federal Reserve, and they say, I asked you about that separately? Because a lot of people don't realize this, but the Federal Reserve is not part of the government. They're separate from the government. And there's an argument that the head of the Federal Reserve is probably just as powerful as the president for a couple of reasons. First of all, they're the head of all the banks, but even more importantly, they can print all the money. I stop there and humor eases tension. So I say, gosh, I think I'd like to marry the head of the Federal Reserve. What, you earn money. But then I say, now let me ask you something. The interest rates are at zero. They just announced that till the end of 2023, they're probably going to keep the interest rates at zero. So does it sound like they've been able to fix the economy? And they go, no. I say, so let me ask you something. Really? Be serious with me. Wouldn't I be lying to you if I told you I knew what was going to happen? Don't you get sick of that? So here's my question, and then we'll be done. If nobody knows what's going to happen, what if we could develop a strategy that, first of all, would guarantee that none of these entities could ever harm you again? Gosh, wouldn't that be an amazing strategy? And that's not good enough, because if we don't help you build a successful financial retirement future, we're not going to be okay. So here's the second part of it. What if, because we didn't lose any money, we could take advantage of that money that we built in this strategy to take advantage of every blunder they make for the rest of their lives. And here's the coup de grace. Ready? What if we could do all of that with reduced or total elimination of our income tax liability? My goodness, wouldn't that be spectacular? And if you knew you could do that, when would you want to get started? Before or after the next one? I'm 5 questions away telling them I don't know a thing from making a sale. And it happens, I would bet you 9 out of 10 times they go, boy, I've never had anybody tell me they didn't know anything and then they could devise a strategy. And I say, isn't that the purpose of what we're here together for? Is that all of us together, we're going to develop this strategy that allows us to always win rather than always lose. Would that be okay? And see, you'll notice I'm still not telling them anything. I'm still not talking about a product. I'm still not doing any of that. And they don't care what product I put it in as long as it does all the things I just said it would do. And so that's what I've learned from all the greats. I stopped trying to prove to people how smart I was, and I go out of my way to prove to my customer how smart they are. And I do it with questions.
Brilliant. Love it. All right. The next one. This is a philosophy one. This is going to be fun. Van, when we met last week, one of the things is that you said is that we're in a polarized society and you don't want to offend people so that you can help them.
Didn't we just talk about this?
We did, but it was before we hit the record button. Tom, you said you want to go ahead and offend 85% of the population so they leave you alone and find the 15%.
I'm going to shoot you.
And Jim, which way would you prefer to either be or coach your clients?
Oh, there you go. All right, Jim.
Sure. Let me start this war. Yeah, why not? That's all ideal. Listen. I don't think look. Here's the deal. I mean, as written, either of these things can be true, and that's not a problem. But here's the point. It's not really as written here anyway. I think it's better, in fact, that Tom talks about this because Tom wants to clarify this. And Tom, I think you should, because then we can have a real discussion about what's really going on here. Tom?
All right. So it was 2013 that I was introduced to Simon Sinek. And Simon Sinek's 18-minute and 4-second videos, Start With Why, it changed my life. It changed my life. I was so mesmerized by his message. I wrote down every single word of his 18 minutes and 4 seconds. And my goal in life is to meet him, thank him, shake his hand, because since I have met him or met of him, my income has quadrupled. And it's not because I got better. It's not because the product got better. It was internally what I could do for myself. I'm going to give you 2 quotes that changed my life. One of them is, people don't care what you do. They want to know what you do or why you do it, because what you do simply proves what you believe. Yet when we're asked, what do you do for a living? You always respond with what? People don't ask, what do you do for a living, except 2 reasons. Number 1, I'm trying to quickly find a way to dismiss you because I don't need your product or service. And the second reason, I am simply trying to fill a void space. I could care less what your answer is. I'm trying to be polite. So if somebody asks you, what do you do for a living? And those are the 2 choices you have, you better have something that's going to change someone's opinion. And the second thing he said, now everyone on this call, please listen carefully. As a salesperson, your job is not to go out and find people who need to buy the product you're trying to sell. Your job as a salesperson is to simply go out and find people who believe what you believe. The problem with our industry and the way that we are taught to be everything to everybody. We are taught to appease everyone. We are to be the chameleon. We put on a blue jacket to talk to those people, a red jacket to talk to those people, and we try to be someone that we are not to appease someone we don't like. So I will give everyone on this call permission to go out and tell people what you believe. Lead with why you do what you do. And you will find one of 2 things. You will find people who will be attracted to that, and they will want to hitch their wagon because you have the passion to take us a place that I've not been, or you're a bloviating idiot. I don't like you. You're a braggart, and I think I will pass. My point is this, and it's been misunderstood, David, thank you. My point is this. I wrote a book on the explanation of services, how to answer the question, what do you do for a living? And within 15 seconds, I know if I have someone who believes as I do. It doesn't guarantee a sale, but it guarantees me that I can at least have a conversation with someone who believes as I do. And then the relationship can develop from that point. If I find out, I sat next to a billionaire on a flight from Nashville to Dallas. And I asked her, we were talking about taxes, and she looked at me, she had a diamond on her hand the size of a quarter. And she said, what if we don't mind paying taxes? I looked at her and I said, we are not a good fit. Now, 5 years ago, I would have sent her a leather, mind you, a leather-bound binder of every financial product and service I had, hoping to get an opportunity to talk to this woman. What did I do? I simply excused myself. We're just not a good fit. I need to find people who believe as I do. I gave up trying to appease everyone. That is a guaranteed way of failing. So it's not that I'm rude. It's not that I'm arrogant. It's just I have an agenda. I have an agenda to teach what I believe to everyone who wants to hear what I believe. My job is not to convince what's coming out of my mouth is anything they should do. That's the difference. Here's what I believe. Do you believe as I do? Yes, wonderful. We have an opportunity to work together. Doesn't guarantee anything. That's my point.
You know, I kind of say that Van's got a great point. Van, you know, when you talk, somebody will ask you the question, how can you tell whether or not you can sell somebody on the first interview? And you've got a way to figure out how that can work on that, how you can sell on the first interview. And I think that fits right in here. Do you know, does that make, am I making sense here? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, well, but see, I would approach it differently than Tom. I agree totally that I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I go through a process. I've figured out how to do LEAP, the power of zero, circle of wealth, all of them. I can do them in 5 questions. Never takes me, I do not have any sales presentations that take longer than 15 minutes. If it takes longer than 15 minutes, I'm not going to inspire them anyway, because their attention span is approximately 8 seconds. The attention span of a goldfish is currently 9 seconds. And I ask an audience, I say, please, everybody that still reads books, will you raise your hands? And they do, and I say, do you ever forget what you've read when you get to the bottom of a page? And they go, everybody in the room raises their hand. And I say, well, that's your attention span. So I don't give big, long sales presentations. And what Tom is saying is, see, I don't have the personality to do what he does. So what I did is I figured out a way by asking these 5 questions. I'll just quick tell them. They take very quick. I ask a customer, I say, man, do you think taxes are going to be higher in the future? Just yes or no. And they go, yes. Now, please, I'm doing this very fast. When you do it with a customer, you're doing it. He said the magic word, please write it down. Tom said, so I can have a conversation. I don't do pitches. I don't do sales presentations. I have conversations with people about stuff that really matters. That's what I do for a living. So I said, do you think taxes will be higher in the future? Just yes or no. They go, yes. I say, do you think it's possible they could be way higher? They go, absolutely, I think they could. I say, can I ask you something? You have other advisors, you have an accountant, you have an attorney, you have all of these other people. And I bet you nobody has ever asked you this question before. Nobody. Are you ready? And they do it exactly that way. Are you ready? And they go, yeah. And they said, do you want to pay those taxes? Now, if the guy says, yeah, I don't mind paying the taxes, normally, if you were Tom Love, you'd say, fine. Well, I have a 5-question presentation. So the second question would be, man, do you think benefits are going to be lower in the future? Higher deductibles, higher premium, more out of pocket. Doesn't that mean a lower standard of living for you and your family? Boy, what if there was a way that you could easily replace all those lost benefits? When would you want to do that, before or after you lose the benefits? And they say right away, I don't care about that. So you go to the third one. So if there's higher taxes and lower benefits, is that going to fix everything in our economy? Probably not. So I think this is the real dangerous one coming up. Isn't the government going to have to print more money? And what do you call that? And most people don't know. Please, it's inflation, but most agents don't know. Please learn this phrase if you get anything from what I'm talking about today. Start talking to people about reduced purchasing power of their money. This will affect, they're lying to you, the government. They're not going to income tax you, they're going to stealth tax you. They're going to reduce the purchasing power of your money. If you make 10 million a year or you make 10,000 a year, they're going to reduce the purchasing power of your money with all the money they're printing. So, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, can I give you an example? If you have 7% inflation, you retire at age 65 on 50,000 a year, using the rule of 72. By the time you're 75, you'll need 100,000. By the time you're 85 years old, you'll need $200,000 a year. How are you going to get there? You're not working anymore. And so I believe the real hell on earth that's coming is this stealth tax. These guys are printing money like it's going out of style. So then there's a fourth one. So let me ask you something. If there's higher taxes, lower benefits, there's going to be inflation. They're going to print all this money. We're going to create more and more volatility. And I do just like that. And they go, yeah. And I say, well, so if you make a mistake, you lose the money. I go, yeah. I say, if you make 5 mistakes, you lose a lot of money. Yeah. So what's your strategy to not be hurt by the bad volatility? And how could you take advantage of the good volatility? And finally, I tell them about Tom Hagner. I say, I only used to have 4 questions, and this man, Tom Hagner, who became an icon in their industry, he said, people are living longer and longer. And one of the things we don't ask people about enough is, what if you live too long? Wouldn't that be not just only a risk, wouldn't it be a risk multiplier? So this is the way I ask the question. If you retire at 65 and you die at 70, are we going to have any problems planning your retirement? Of course not. But if you retire at 65 and you live till you're 95 and you run out of money when you're 72 years old, and by the way, isn't 72 the new 52? Aren't 72-year-olds doing what 52-year-olds used to do? So what the heck would the rest of your life look like? And I say, you know what? Here's the punchline. All of those things, most of America thinks of them as challenges. What if you could sit down in your basement in the dark and go, I can't wait for them to happen, because you would be perfectly positioned to turn them into an opportunity rather than a challenge. If you knew that was possible, when would you want to get started? Now, believe it or not, I have people that say, I'm still not interested. I shake their hand, but I don't burn the bridge. I shake their hand and I say, well, obviously I haven't inspired you. I apologize for wasting your time. This is 10 minutes. That's all. And then I say, but will you promise me you'll remember 2 questions? I never burn any bridges. And so I say, here's the first question. Promise me you'll remember that if all of this economy starts blowing up way bigger than we thought, and you don't get the advice, you don't get the help that you were thinking you were going to get from somebody else. And by the way, you want to know the truth? 90% of the time they're lying to me. They don't have anybody helping them. And so they're just trying to get rid of it. And so I say to them, if you don't get the help, remember, I can stop the bleeding immediately. Will you promise me you remember that? And here's the more important question. Promise me you'll remember. Once I stop the bleeding, what if we told you we could put you in perfect position to still take advantage of what's happening? Will you promise me you'll remember that? And I shake their hands. I go, got rid of this guy. I shake their hand. I say, man, it was so great to meet you. I really enjoyed my time with you. Thank you so much. I swear to on my kids, 50% of the time, those people call me back when something bad happens because they were lying to me. And they lie to you too all the time. And so I'm doing it opposite of what Tom does. He has such a dynamic personality. Even right now, I'm intimidated watching him on a Zoom. Do you get this? But he can get away with that. I cannot. And so I developed this questioning system that allows me to walk them through a process. And if after that process they can't find anything in those 5 questions that's of interest to them, I say goodbye. But I don't burn the bridge. And I move on to the next one. And that's how I'm able to run 8 to 10 appointments a day, because they're none longer than 15 minutes. So I hope that helps.
So there's 2 things here, David, I think the audience needs to remember. You've got 2 wildly successful advisors doing 2 things which apparently are diametrically opposed to each other. What does this mean for the average guy in the street? It means if you can do something, I think Tom talked about, and I've mentioned the same way, do something that you believe in, have your strategy, when you believe you have the courage of your own convictions, then you can do this too, but you have to have a plan. What we found during the pandemic is that people, advisors with a plan, rather with a planned process, with an actual process, whatever it was, did surprisingly better than those that were just wondering what they were doing. And I want to just say one other thing, and it relates to what Tom was talking about, prospecting. Really, one of the things that changed the way I looked at prospecting and was helpful in changing the opinions of the advisors I work with, and I spent 40 years doing this, really, is that prospecting is not so much finding buyers or believers as it is eliminating non-buyers and non-believers to find the believers. That means, and by the way, there's way fewer believers than there are non-believers. So you're doing your job when people say no to you, you're doing your job. If they say no, as the woman with the quarter-sized diamond on her hand said to Tom, it's not the right thing, that's okay, because that's the game. The game is eliminating non-buyers to find the buyers, the same as it is really for panning for gold. You're moving pay dirt to find the gold nuggets. And that one thing can change your perception of prospecting so you do it more willingly and you understand it better and it doesn't affect your emotions as much as it can. David?
Wow. Oh, wait. Best insurance advice available in the world for free or your money back. So, this is great. I want to go to one of the biggest things that ends up being asked in the life insurance agent discussion group. What are your thoughts on leads? And Van, I saw you last week and you were with Bankers Life for 16 years. And admittedly, you said the only reason you survived was because they had leads, probably orphan policies and things like that. How and when did you make the transition to creating your own prospects and appointments rather than, and of course you admit you were fired, so maybe you had to, but I wanted to kind of get your mindset shift going from being dependent on the lead source to creating your own.
I don't want to take a long time here because I want to leave time for Tom and Jim. I hope everybody will stay on, but I hope you'll laugh at this. We used to have a guy named Paul Harvey that advertised us, the White Cross plan. I got a lead one time. I'll show you how bad of an agent it was. The lead said, "Dear Paul Harvey, God bless you, Paul Harvey. Will you please send an agent to our home to sell us insurance?" I blew that sale. That was a little bit. And so I want you to understand, I know both worlds because I'm not a year or two, I was 16 years a dirtball. There's no other way to explain it, a dirtball. And please, if you'll laugh with me, I hope you'll laugh. I'm still a dirtball. I just sell a lot of insurance now. So anyway, the key is easy. The key is easy. Ready, everybody? It's learning to have great conversations and ask people about what it does, not what it is. If you could find a way to never lose any money ever again, Mr. or Mrs. Customer, would that be a benefit you'd be interested in? See, it's a question. They right away it raises their thing. I have another question. I go to people and I say, what if there was a way you could be the beneficiary of your own life insurance policy while you were still alive? And I say, wait, don't answer. You know why I'm asking that? Because what do most people think you have to do in order to collect on life insurance? And they say, well, you got to die. And I say, well, I'll tell you what, I'd be happy to pay any amount of money you could ever declare if you can prove to me that we've ever sent any money to a dead person. That's not called death insurance. It's life insurance. It's there to take care of the people we love, the businesses we've created, and the charities we have consideration for. And watch, I lean in and I say, if you think I want you to die, I don't. What if I could show you all the living benefits that you could have complete success, not only for financial and retirement success, what if you could use the same exact dollar for protection? If you died too soon, if you had a critical illness like a heart attack, stroke, or cancer, if you needed long-term care, if you need any of those things, what if you could use the same dollar to protect all of those things? But if you never needed them, you wouldn't have wasted 1 cent on any of those things. If you knew like something like that was available, tell me the truth. Do you know anything else in the world that can do what I just described? They don't. See, we keep talking about policies and interest rates. Please listen to me. This is so important. Every one of you sell the best life insurance policy in America. It doesn't, there's no way to declare who's got the best because you don't know how many people are going to die. You don't know what the interest rates are going to be. You don't know anything. So the only thing that matters is, will the strategy do what you promised it will do? And any policy you plug in, if you help them achieve these things we just described, you have the best policy in America. And if you can't leave this talk right now, understanding and knowing that, then to be honest with you, I failed.
Open a Taco Bell.
It's about the product. It's about you. You're the magic. You're the key. You're the person that will make it all happen. And the only way that you can prove to people that you care about them is not by talking about you, but by asking about them. Sorry, please don't finish this little thingy, but I get kind of wound up with this because for me, prospecting is so, I'm 100 appointments behind right now. I'm not kidding. You don't want to sit next to me on a plane. You don't want to sit next to me in a bar. You certainly don't want to sit next to me at a sporting event because they drip on you. I don't talk that. I say, man, isn't it something what's going on in the economy? Do you think they're going to raise the hell out of their taxes again? Gosh, you're going to just let them, you know. And I drip on them, drip on them, drip on them, drip on them. I sold the guy, I'm standing underneath, he's changing the tires on my car. I'm standing there, I don't know a thing about cars. You know, why is that rust there? Will that hurt my car? And so, no, and I said, boy, you know why I'm wearing out all these tires? Because we have to call on all these people because the government's going to come and take everybody's money because they don't have any money, and they're starting to develop all these strategies where they're going to take all this. And the guy looks at me and goes, you know, it's funny you bring that up. He goes, I just inherited $600,000 from my uncle, and I was trying to figure out what the hell I was going to do with it. Do you have any recommendations? Guess who bought my tires? I sell people in grocery stores. I sell people. My dry cleaner has their insurance with me. My butcher. I don't sell them insurance. I ask them questions. I have conversations, like Tom said. I have conversations with them about life. And do you want to be in control of your life, or do you want to let the Internal Revenue Service, Wall Street, and the banks be in control of your life? You pick.
You want to go, Jim?
I'm just going to say, I wanted to say one thing here that I think is so important. As you're watching, as an audience member watching this, you got to remember something. You know, the biggest question since 1927, when the MDRT first formed, and of course, I think in that year they asked for the biggest concerns that advisors had. Prospecting was it. I'm sure that was the case before then. And every single study since then has always said that prospecting is the biggest concern. Here's the thing: what you just heard from Van Mueller is also the biggest answer to that problem, and that is asking the right questions to intrigue people. You know, in the CFP, they say that the first step is supposed to be engage, the client in writing. Here's the thing: the actual first step in the financial planning process is to entice engagement. And that's exactly what you just heard from Van, and you'll hear from Tom, and you'll hear from a lot of other people that do this well. They have those great questions that intrigue people, that inspire people. I mean, I can listen to Van and Tom all day because they inspire me. And you know why they inspire me? Because they're inspired. In terms of creating or getting that link to convert a name into a prospect, to someone you can sit down with, it's that inspiration that comes from those great questions. And that's what you hear out of, a zero personality guy like Van Mueller. Please, Van, you lie to your friends, I'll lie to my friends, but let's not lie to each other. The man is inspiring in a way that gets anybody interested. I love that man just for that reason. Let me just say this, but while I'm on the same track with respect to about leads. Understand this. People talk, especially on the life insurance agent discussion group, they talk about buying leads. Buying leads is such a big deal. It nauseates me. You've got to be kidding me. We're buying, and there's only 335 million people in the United States, and we've got to buy leads. Okay, I guess if you don't know anything, I guess that's fine. But you can create your own leads. You can shop for leads. And there's so much I could say about this, but you can shop for leads on social media if you wanted to. There is so much you can do with the connections of your connections, with the connections of your best clients, with the friends of your best clients on Facebook. There is so much opportunity. And this is all just a digital version. Here's the cool thing. This is just a digital version of what we used to do in the 70s and 80s with mail. And the difference is mail took weeks. This takes minutes. So why you would want to do this, I don't know. But if you learn the questions that Tom has, you learn the questions that Van has, if you apply that to a digital world, do a little of your own homework or hire somebody. You can create your own leads. You won't be buying anything and then wondering, well, are they too aged? Are they stale? Are they good? Are they bad? Man, you can do whatever. And you know what? You can write your own ticket if you learn how to do that. And there's so many ways. That's just one. Tom?
When I meet someone for the first time, when they're interested in what it is that we do, I'll ask them, how do they prospect? What is their means of getting a hold of people? And they'll say either I buy leads. I met one guy who spent $50,000 a month putting together a radio show. And I thought, you know what? My goal in life is to have you spend nothing, zero for a lead. I'm going to show you how to talk to people. And I use this analogy. I will ask a group of people, especially insurance agents, how many people did you see last week? And because we are always asked that question of management, we go to our appointment book and we yell out a number, 10, 14, 36, 4. I only had one. Well, you answered, how many appointments did you have? My question was, how many people did you see last week? The average person prior to COVID saw over 200 people a week. And unfortunately, you had nothing to say to 191 of them. So what if I could teach you how to become a person of interest? Because that's all Van does. I was picking up sod. And the guy says, well, what do you do for a living? And I told him, and he says, Jesus, I've got to talk to you. Okay. When I sat next to the person in the first class and I told him what I do for a living, he says, oh my God, would you teach me? I said, no. He said, what? I said, no. You want to become a person of interest? Become scarce. Scarce. Stop giving it away and start holding what you have so true to yourself that you're only going to give it to those people you want to do business with. Stop giving this stuff away. And what, for example, if Congress were to announce today, we came out with a new Roth, it's going to have no 1099, none. It's going to be 100% tax exempt on the growth, 100% tax exempt on the distribution, and 100% income tax exempt on the heirs that will receive what's left over. Would you buy that? Well, of course. That's been in the code since 1913. It's been hiding in plain sight for 108 years. And then I want to finish with this. All Van does is become a person of interest. And he doesn't do it by saying, I'm the smartest guy in the world. And he's just simply piquing your interest with the crap of knowledge that's in his head. And all you have to do is make the mistake of ask a little bit more. You're going to write a life insurance check. Sorry, that's how it works. It's not because this is more important than that. It's what this does that is so much more important than that. And I want you to, there's two things. And thank you, Jim, for the comments about, inspiring. One of the neatest comments that in Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, I don't know if he said it in his video. There are leaders, and then there are those who lead. Leaders simply hold a position of power, yet those who lead inspire. And that's really what you have here, are people who inspire. Sometimes it's going to fall on deaf ears. Okay. And sometimes you're going to get the friendship you never thought you could enjoy. And it's right there in front of you. And the last, I'm going to give you a plug. I also wrote a book on how to turn clients into advocates. It's easier than you think. And it all starts basically with you. And the biggest difficulty we have in our industry is getting a referral. And I believe the worst thing we could do in the insurance industry is to start a sales presentation by saying, I'm entitled to get 10 people you don't like as a refer. So here's my point. if you have a hard time explaining to somebody what you do for a living that makes any sense at all, here's what you've done. You've asked your brand new client to introduce their friends to someone who cannot even explain eloquently what the hell it is you do. And then we wonder why we don't get a good referral. I don't want to be known as a big case writer. I do not. What I want to be known for is helping people solve problems. And if I could be referred as a problem solver, I could be referred at a funeral, at a sporting event, at a wedding, because I've solved problems. It's not because they bought life insurance. I'm done.
Woo. All right. Well, part B of that question is, if you had to start all over today and didn't buy leads, how would you get your first 10 clients and first 10 referrals?
If.
That's the question.
No, that would be, I would go out and ask a bunch of questions. If I could put you in a position better off than you are today, not filing tax returns or paying less tax, if. And then talk to those people who say, yes, I'd like that. Okay, stand over here. I'll get back to you. And then tell someone else. If. My son came to me years ago and said, Dad, I'm going to make $1 million a year on the word if. If. And he's going to. And all he does is ask questions. Take the Van Miller approach, communication.
Yeah, Van. I think the Van's approach is right on the money. I think it's how you would do it. You would just start with one. All you need is one to start.
Learn to ask 5 questions as brilliantly as he is, and you'll write 300 apps in 4 months.
Actually, Tom, 400 apps.
Well, let's get it right, damn it.
No, but please, you guys, everybody, it's what I'm hoping you're seeing, I'm begging that you're seeing. I hope you see how much fun I'm having. This is supposed to be fun. This is amazing. The benefit I get is way bigger than just money. I get to meet interesting people, and please get this. Americans love to give their opinion. And so I'm out there asking for their opinions about, are you worried about this? Please, there's just 2 things I want to leave you with, because it's hot right now. And I want you to be able to ask some questions that will kill. The hottest question in the insurance business right now is, what's the best age to take your Social Security? And you know the reason we're asking you that is because 93% of the people, and it's the same in Canada, by the way. When I'm in Canada, I say, what's the best age to take your RRSP? And the reason is that 93% of the people take the benefit to their detriment. Do you know that 90% of Americans take Social Security before even their full retirement age? So what if there was a way that you could easily maximize this benefit? Wouldn't you want to know about it? And if I promise, all I'm going to do is ask you some questions that'll help you clarify exactly how you can do that. I promise I won't sell you anything, and I'll make you a deal. You'll be so pleased with the information that when I'm done, you walk me to my car and hold my car door for me. Fair enough? And they say, okay. And I said, there's another little transition I throw in there. I say, even if you don't do anything, at the very least, wouldn't you want to know? Come on. Now, see, I'm not, oh my God, I got the greatest of all time. I never do that. I say to them, come on, at the very least, it's got to be worth 45 minutes of your time. I want to close with this one more little question. So the lady in the grocery store. And I want you to get how important what I'm about to say to you is. I'm shortening this because I want to be respectful to the other members that are doing this. So watch, this is very easy. I say to everybody now, I've done it with existing customers and made sales. I say, can I ask you something? We're so worried about everything that's going on with COVID-19. We're not even sure we're offering the right advice anymore. And gosh, you could help me a ton if I could just ask you a couple of questions. I really love your opinion about a couple of things. It would help me to do a better job for my customers. It would be okay. And they go, sure, because they want to help you. So I say, do you think it would be more beneficial? I took the word smarter out of my vocabulary because when you use that word, like Tom Higna says, the word matters. You're attacking their intelligence. I don't do that. I say, would it be more beneficial to take a tax deduction now when taxes are historically low and build it into a gigantic pile of money down the road when the government's certainly going to need more revenue, can tax it at any level they want? Or would it be more beneficial to pay your taxes now when they're as historically as low as they'll probably ever be and build a big pile of money that the government could never get their hands on ever again? And I say, now this is really important. This is the part you have to help me with. Which would be more beneficial for you and your family, the first one or the second one? And they look at me cross-eyed every single time and they go, well, come on, that's easy. It's the second one. And I say, well, boy, doesn't that raise another question? And I go, what's that? Why are you doing the first one? The lady looked at me and she said, my God, we didn't even realize it. See, people are taught about the tax deductibility. They're not taught about the dangers of tax deferral. We are building enormous piles of money for the Internal Revenue Service and the government to access at any level they want in the future. Mr. and Mrs. Customer, would you prefer to be in control of what number that is, or would you want to trust that the government and the Internal Revenue Service will have your back? See, those are really hot questions right now. You can do them anywhere. Yeah, please, I don't even get invited to dinner parties anymore because nobody talks to anybody but me. I'm sitting in the corner of the dinner party and I'm asking people all these questions. I'm making sales. They don't even want to go eat. They want to, I want to. That's how fun this gets. Everywhere you go, because you're asking for their opinion. Americans love to give their opinion. Hope that helps.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Jim, any thoughts on how you'd get your first 10?
Well, I think that, you start with one. I think that's how I mean, I would probably go to social media today. In my own community, I would just do that. That would be first step. But I wanted to highlight something that Van just said, because I think, and I love sort of putting some of his words into just a straight up phrase. Think about what he said. He said that how about the dangers of tax deferral are hidden by the benefits of tax deductibility. And man, that applies in Canada and the United States. You realize that's a huge thing. Something else that Van said is absolutely true here in Canada. People, they don't know when to take their Canada pension plan. When they get their Social Security here in Canada, they don't know when. And it's interesting, if you were asking that question, what's the right day or the right time to do this? Do you do it when you're 60, when you're 65, or do you wait until you have to when you're 70? And what's the advantage of all of that? I mean, again, it goes right back to questions, and it can start with one person. I think you heard that from Tom. I think you heard that from Van. And you can ask questions like, I know there's a guy here in this call, a guy that I know from London, Ontario, and Stuart, honestly, you think about that, just think you could start any discussion with simply that. When do you think it's the best time to take your Canada pension plan benefits? And would you like to know when it was optimized, to use a word from Tom Higna? So I just wanted to outline that one thing, though, that Van said. I thought that was genius. Van, I'll give you full credit for 48 hours as per usual. Then, of course, it'll be my idea. But think about this, man. This is everywhere in all kinds of plans. In Canada, the Registered Retirement Savings Plan. The dangers of tax deferral are hidden by the benefits of tax deductibility. Man, never heard that from you, Van.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I've already wrote that down. I like that better than anything I've said today.
But it was brilliant. But it's that concept, and of course, that's what I do for a living. Pull these, and such gems come out of this. I've got pages of notes already from what you guys are saying, and I'm supposed to be giving advice. I'm just getting it here today. David?
Awesome.
David.
Yes, Tom.
Two things. The most powerful words as a salesman, and especially if used with someone who has dissed you, ghosted you, who is better than you, who believes you don't know crap. The most powerful words in selling I want your opinion. And I'll tell you why the guy who dissed you will give you one. All of a sudden, he or she will talk to you because they will have no problem telling you why you are a fool. So they'll give you the appointment. The most powerful words, I would like your opinion. I value your opinion. So the next time you have someone who has dissed you or is difficult or has turned you down, give them a call and say, look, I need some help. And I value your opinion. See what that does for you. And then second, Van started with his 5 questions. I want to give you 3 of mine that have really turned into a very easy process then into the solution. I'm going to ask you 3 questions just to get an idea of where you are financially, mentally in your life. Question number 1, is it your goal and objective each year that you're in business to make more money than the year before? And of course, that's why you hire financial people. You want to make more money. Question number 2, on the day that you retire, would you like your first retirement check to be at least as large as your last employment check? Or do you want a pay cut? Now, I've never had anyone say, I want a pay cut. I have had people who have enjoyed less income, but that's because they failed to plan. It's not because they went out and planned to fail. And the third question we've already talked about, do you believe over your lifetime that personal income tax rates have got to go up? Yes. So let's review the yeses of these 3 questions. I want to make more. People, that's called bracket creep. You don't have to have a change in the tax code. You will pay more. Question number 2, if you have deferred all of this, like I did in a 20% bracket, for the privilege of retiring in a 37% tax bracket, they go back and adjust your contributions. I know I'm going to pay 37 on the gain. They're going to go back and adjust what I put in to reflect the bracket. Question number 3, taxes are going to go up. Let me share with you what you just admitted for the first time in your adult life. Today represents the lowest income tax bracket of forever. Why are you doing what you're doing? Please help me understand how you think you can win this game. And then I joke, wouldn't it be cool on the refund check you get from the IRS? In the memo section, it doesn't say refund, it says postponement. I wonder how many people would cash the check. Depositing money into a qualified retirement plan does not lower your tax bill. It lowers what you temporarily write the check for. You don't lower your obligation. And heaven forbid if you should succeed, spelled S-U-C-K-S-E-E-D. And again, I've never had anyone in 50 years say, make sure I retire broke. Or make sure I retire on less money. Well, the financial industry is putting people in harm's way because they are not responsible to help them understand the implications of the financial decisions they've already made. That's what I want to do. I don't care if you buy anything or not. I'm going to give you 3 promises. Number 1, this is all going to be about you. If you ask me what I'm doing, I'll be glad to tell you, but this meeting is about you. Number 2, this is education only. I'm going to teach you what the rules of the game are so that you do not bring a hockey puck to a baseball diamond asking to play. And promise number 3, I really don't care if you do this or not, because you have to see the benefit. This hasn't coming from me saying you have to, you should. I got out of the recommending business 7 years ago. I quit selling 7 years ago. And my sales have quadrupled. Learn how to stop selling and educate. This stuff sells itself day in and day out. Simply learn how to communicate with people. David.
You can tell we're not planting seeds, we're throwing bombs. These are some great bombs. All right, my next question. In this divided political climate, is there any real future threat to the current tax advantages for permanent life insurance?
What's the question?
In this divided political climate, is there any real future threat to the current tax advantages for permanent life insurance?
Biden owns 6 mass mutual policies. Richie Neal, who was a family member of a general agent of Mass Mutual, agreed to change 7702 and make it better than it was. The Democrats like this better than the Republicans. I don't see a threat. Personally, I do not see a threat to this. If they tax inside buildup of life insurance, then they're going to have to tax equity in a house. And I don't see that happening either. If they tax a loan, then you got to tax an automobile loan. So I think we're a long way from seeing anything changed. And to Van's point, the next 10 years, you have the largest chunk of money that's going to go from one generation to the next. Stop giving the most of it to the IRS. What if we could protect that? We should all be able to have conversations standing in line at a Starbucks like Van does. All of us.
If I can just say something, just as a point, I think the first major challenge, the first major U.S. threat against cash value and the value, and just the values of life insurance, I think happened in 1898, the 19th century. And I think it's what spawned NALU at the time, the Advisors Association, NAFA today. I think that's what happened. This also happened in Canada again in 1981 with a budget that happened in December of that year. And by the way, both of those were pushed down big time. So in the US, at least at the end of the 19th century, and it's managed to survive all the way through that. And in Canada, the uproar was so loud, the government sort of buried their head and ran for the bush. They gave up. I think Tom's exactly right. I think history will demonstrate that. I think the economic and social value of this product is just far too great for anyone to say we need to tax that in any fashion at all, whether it's proceeds or, I mean, look, they're going to go after values to the best way they can, finding ways, and they surely have done this in Canada. But I don't think that you're going to lose all of them. And it's always going to be better than anything else in the long term anyhow. So to me, as long as I think it will survive, the advantages will survive. I think if you avoid the gimmickiest stuff on the market, you're never going to have a problem. David?
I can agree with that. The other part too is that the last time that life insurance was affected was in the 80s with Tamara, Tefra, and Defra, those three evil stepsisters. But every policy that was sold before then was grandfathered under the old rules. So that's an important thing to keep in mind too. So already have past precedent that, hey, even if it somehow it changed, well, better get it now.
So remember, your 401k plan is a unilateral agreement with the United States government, meaning it's one way, their way, and every year we are dictated to new rules and regulations regarding a 401k or any qualified retirement plan. Life insurance is a legal contract that takes 61 votes in the Senate to change. It's not, I just all of a sudden want to change it. So contract law can be changed. It has before, but to make it easier, in the past, they have grandfathered. And if you'll remember what happened back in the 80s, it was Rostenkowski and Packwood who stood on the steps of the Capitol saying, we have enough votes. We're going to change this. In February, we're going to change this. It's effective July. You have 4 months to buy all the single premium whole life you can scarf. 4 months. And then we're going to change the rules for the people who don't do it. So there's a hidden agenda here. 4% of the population, I've heard last, buys their life insurance the way that we show it. It happens to be the politicians and their donor base. There's a reason why you haven't heard about this before, people. This is the tightest, closest to the chest secret that has not been shared. I think you need to hear it. You know, I've been asked to go on Glenn Beck's radio program and talk about why in the hell would I talk about this? No, but I will talk to you about what you can do. And one at a time, I'm trying to change the world, one at a time. You end up renting the Coliseum, Madison Square Garden, and you start touting what life insurance is. You will look at what happened in the 80s. Metropolitan took out a full-page ad in the Wall Street Journal, the centerpiece, Cheat the Government. That was the title. And Packwood held it up in hearing. This isn't life insurance. I'm looking for that picture, Van. There is a picture somewhere of him holding that up in Congress, pointing to the ad. It's Metropolitan's worst day in history. They don't have a copy of it anywhere, but someone does. And I'm going to plaster that on the side of my motorhome. This is what we're talking about. David.
Well, and while everybody thinks of me as insurance Wikipedia and everything, I can't find a picture of that thing either, but I have looked, I have tried. Wow. Okay. Another pretty good question here. What is the key when you transition from a young agent trying to talk to everyone to switching to building your ideal client profile and acquiring those clients only?
I'm reading the chat window. I'm older than dirt. Can you say that again?
Okay. What is the key when transitioning from a young agent trying to talk to everyone to switching to building your ideal client profile and acquiring those clients only?
It's a maturing process. It's all internal. It's your comfort level, your confidence. Where do you feel comfortable? I remember when I started, I was told by everybody, you're going to have a clientele 5 years younger than you and 5 years older than you. And that 10-year span is going to go through your life the whole time. And that's pretty much been true. It's all of this. When you start to get legs, when you start to see the benefit of what you do for someone and their family. Remember, Will Rogers said to truly measure a man's success is to gauge his family's living conditions 5 years after he's gone. And if we firmly believe that, what we do now, and you see it come to fruition, your body language will change. Your confidence level will change. And people will be attracted to that, not the product. The product, the what, is irrelevant. What it is that we do doesn't matter. Why we do it and how we do it makes more sense than what the hell it is. If everybody knew what it was, there would be no life insurance for sale. It'd all be gone.
Let me give you a little different perspective on that. First of all, I think even young agents, and I have recruited hundreds and hundreds over my career. I have been involved with the same number over the years. But I think even young agents need to target where they have what I call natural influence. So even as you start early on, I think you want to find the place as a young person, as I did when I was 21 and 22 years old in this business, where you can have influence, where you can get started, where you can build some momentum. And then I think as you do that for a while, and again, you will discover your inspiration in this business, your focus for this business, where you can specialize, where you can look. I think you have to find that eventually. I think, as Tom says, you will mature. It is a maturing process. But I do think that even early on, you say, look, I mean, and I know, look, there's always examples of things that work differently. So I get all that. But I think on the larger scale, as you come into this business as a young person or a new advisor, maybe in your 40s or 50s, and we have a lot of those today, I think you want to find a place where you have natural influence. That means when you talk, they listen. When they phone, you want to talk to them. When you give them advice, they take it, where they're naturally predisposed to speak with you. And I don't care where that is, whether they're people, as Tom would say, 10 years around your age or otherwise. But you want to find a place where you can have influence, because you got to get some traction. You got to have some success early on. And I think you do have to target, and you don't try, and we heard this earlier today too, you don't try to be all things to all people all the time, especially when you start. Pick something that inspires you. I talk about icon protocol, inspiration, communication, organization, and numeration. But the inspiration, something has to drive you to ask the questions, to prospect. Something has to drive you to take the no's. Again, if you don't risk a no, you'll never get a yes. So you have to be inspired. Something you have to believe. And ironically enough, Tom, when I first started, I used to have what I called the Jim Ruta Traveling School of Life Insurance. And I'm thinking, I did more than 100 cases as a 22-year-old. I'm thinking, what the heck? How did that work? It's because I was just telling them, and you said this, Tom. I said, if you just knew what I know, I think you'll do what I did. That's what I did. And I'd say, and here's my stuff. Here's what I did. And people bought it. And you
Yeah.
know what? Whether they were 25 or 35 or 45, you know what? You can use that. And I love this thing. I think Van does this. He's carting around, 29 policies and showing them to people. So do a lot of people. If not that, at least the list of them. So you sell it. But you've got, again, it goes back to your own belief. But I think if you have something that you believe in, that you can sell, that you bought, man, take that to the street and just let people believe what you believe, and do what Tom said. Look for the believers. What Van says, find the people who line up with me, and don't worry about the rest. They'll change, as Van proves many times over. David?
Van, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, not really. To be honest, to be honest with you, the way you find out, for me, what it is I loved was by trial and error. I'm listening to this, and again, I'm remembering back to when I was 16 years struggling to make ends meet, and it was very, very hard. I hated everybody. I hated having to make the calls. I hated to make the phone calls. I hated to call on the leads. I hated the people when I got there. I hated my company. I hated everything. And so I think some of it starts from, what do you like? Do you like math? Do you like technology? Do you like people? Do you want to help people? Do you want to serve people? Do you want to build relationships with people? See, I'm listening to some of this stuff. One of the things that really ticks me off in the industry, just it infuriates me, is when people say that you get referrals by asking for them. And I tell agents all the time, if anybody ever says that to you, punch the person in the face. It's violent. You shouldn't do that. I don't mean it that way, but the way you get referrals is by being referable, by being different, and I tell everybody, again, I wanted to learn these presentations because I wanted to develop some control. And I'm going to tell everybody here, when I get done giving these 5-question presentations, and I don't have just one, I have 5 of them. I have 5-question presentations. So when I meet a certain kind of person, I can adjust. I don't do as well with analytical people, even though I'm a hyper analytical, because they want illustrations. Tell you a funny story. I'm in a guy's house and he's an electrical engineer, and he says, "I want to give you $100,000, but I want to see an illustration." I said, well, the interest rate is 3%. Do you have a legal pad? He said, yeah. So I write 100,000 at the top of the page, and I go times 0.03. End of the first year, you'll have 103,000. I turned it around and said, there's your illustration. And he got kind of tipped. He said, what the hell is this? And I said, that's your illustration. And he said, no, I want a real illustration. I said, well, then you have to tell me what you think the interest rate will be next year. I don't know what that'll be. So this is the only accurate illustration I'm allowed to give you under the law. And he said, well, I'm not okay with that. And I said, well, I reached my hand out. He said, thank you very much. We're not going to be a good fit. And I started to walk out the door. And he goes, wait, where the hell are you going? And I said, well, please, I can't do what you want me to do. You're asking me to be something that I'm not, and I just can't do it. And he said, sit down. And I said, all I want you to do is give me an illustration. I said, okay, give me another page. I write 100,000 at the top of the page. I go, times 0.03 is 103,000. And he said, well, that's the same thing you gave me on the first one. I said, well, I want to make sure you understand how accurate this illustration is. And he said, well, I'm not okay with that. And I said, well, thank you very much. It was nice to meet you. I'm going to leave. And he said, will you stop doing that? He mean, you start getting irritated. He said, where the hell are you going? And I said, please understand, you are asking me to do something that I cannot do. If this is not acceptable to you, then we have to part company. And finally he goes, okay, he's been my customer for 15, 20 years, but what Tom and all these people, what Jim teaches, and if you talk to some of the other greats, they'll explain to you is you can't give in who you are. You have to be true to who you are. And so I like to have fun. I'm interested in people. About 75% of my clientele are women. So I read women's magazines, Elle and all of those. I talk to women about their shoes and about their clothes. And I don't talk to them. I ask them, I say, you know, do you like this? Do you like this? Is it, you know, nicer to buy a pair of shoes that you got for really cheap, but everybody thinks are expensive? Or do you want to really have that really expensive pair of shoes so you can tell everybody how expensive it was? You know, everybody's got their own way. It tells you all kinds of things about them having these conversations. And so what I'm hoping that you all get from this is that the secret, it really is the secret, no matter where you are. I would make you a bet. Everybody who's on this call, if you have existing clientele, here's what I would do. I would get on the phone to Monday and I'd say, hi, this is me. I just saw this Zoom meeting with David Kinder and Thomas Love and Jim Ruta and Miller. And gosh, they raised some questions that I'm terrified that I haven't asked you. I'm just terrified that I haven't made sure that you know the answers to these questions. Would it be possible that I can come over and visit with you and spend half an hour, 45 minutes, and ask you a series of questions? Now, I want you to understand, you guys all think I'm really good. I have a customer in Kohler, Wisconsin, who had $500,000 of stuff with me. And they got to retirement age and they call me on the phone. They say, you know, we would like you to make a recommendation. We have 5 other agents that we're going to look at. And I'm going, what? 500 other agents? How's that possible? I'm your agent. I have all your money. And they said, no, we have $2.5 million in 401k. And I went, what? I have $500,000 of their money and I didn't know anything about it. So this is how I fixed it. I went over there and I said, you know, I really screwed this up really bad. I said, if it's okay, I would like to take a big piece of paper and write down a series of questions that I think you need to answer in order to make the proper decisions for your retirement. Is that okay? I said, please, will you give me a day? He went home and I wrote 42 questions down, left space for them to answer underneath, took it back to him, and I said, now please don't do this with me here. You two sit at the dining room table, you answer these, and then if you still would like me to help you going forward, call me back. A couple of days later, they called me back and said, we got rid of everybody else. You were asking us questions that nobody else asked us. Don't you see? That's the fun. That's what it is. If you can raise issues that nobody else raises, are you worried about taxes? Are you worried about inflation? Do you want to work on the golf course or do you want to play on the golf course? Do you have enough confidence in your current advisor to get a second opinion? And on and on and on. If you keep asking these questions and that's all you do, people are going to think of you as a resource, as an advocate, as an advisor, not as a salesperson, and they'll beg you to be around them all the time, and they'll refer you to everybody because you're asking questions that they know their friends and family and relatives need answers to. And I can't help it. Everybody we teach that to, I have 40 agents now that we've started from scratch production that make top of the table. We have 7,000 letters here at home of agents who've doubled and tripled and quadrupled their production. And listen to me very carefully. 7 to 30 days. 7 to 30 days. And all they did was learn 8 or 10 really good questions and went out amongst them and started asking the questions, and their careers and their lives changed and they had fun. They didn't feel like adversaries, and they're making money hand over fist. That's all of you guys. 7 to 30 days. You have Jim Ruta. If you please go to his website, jimruta.com. He puts on information, ideas every single week, tells you stuff. Tom Love, buy everything you can buy from that guy. Jesus, he's amazing. If I could swing this camera and show you my Tom Love section of my library, I have a Tom Hagda, David McKnight, everybody. So I love these people. A turn of a phrase, a little twist of a word, and you change your life forever. That's what happened for me. And please listen to me again. These guys make fun of me, but I can't wait to get off this call because this is emotionally exhausting. I like to be by myself. I go to the movies by myself. I'm a loner. I'm self-conscious. I used to sit in audiences and watch the greats, Tom Hagman and John Savage and Ben Feldman and Roger Ebert and Charlie Tremendous Jones. Amazing. And while I was sitting there, I would be saying to myself, I swear to you, I'm like children. There's no way I can do what they're doing. I would be saying that the whole time they were talking. And I'm sure some of you are saying it. And now, this is going to sound arrogant to you, but I'm better than all of them. I went from being a dirtball, and all it took was deciding which questions I was going to learn conversationally, and I practiced and practiced and practiced, so I didn't have to worry about how shy I was. So all of you can do this. This is what I want to close with. This is a learned skill. You can learn how to do this, everybody. And you can do it quickly, not 6 months, 7 to 30 days. And when you practice, you don't practice in the mirror. Pick your hardest customers, people that you think there's no way you can sell them on a bet. And that's who you practice on. And I'll bet you any money, 1 out of 5 of them you'll sell because they've never heard the questions before. And when you get back to your people that you're positive you can sell, you'll be so ridiculously powerful because now it'll be all about them and not about you anymore. And it'll all be about strategies rather than products. And that's the secret. It's really that simple. And we try to make it too complex. It's that simple.
Wow. Just wow. And Van, you're still fooling me. I think you can't. I think you love being on these things, but that's just me.
I despise it with a passion. Because please, when I wake up in the morning, I swear to you, this is truth. Look in the mirror. It's called negative self-talk. I go, oh my God, are you old? I can't believe how fat you are. Jesus, are you ugly? Everybody has negative self-talk. If they tell you different, they're lying. And the only way that you get past it is you make a decision to serve somebody else. Then that's how you build self-esteem. Otherwise, I couldn't do it. If I'm sitting here thinking about me, I'm terrified. I don't feel good being judged. I don't feel I measure up. I don't hold a candle to a Jim Ruta or a Tom Love. Not a candle.
Wrong.
No, but that's how I feel. What I'm trying to get you to get is you can still do it even if you feel this way if you learn the skills. Everybody can do it. It's a learned thing. You all can do it. Some of you, I can see your pictures. You can do it very, very quickly. Wayne, I can see your face. Ron, I can see your face. Mr. Saltzman, I can see your face. You guys can do this, but you have to practice. You can't assume that your joyful personality is going to carry the day. It isn't. Nobody cares about you. The only people they care about is themselves. And when you make a decision that you're going to serve them, they adore you.
That's awesome. That leads me to my last question, which is what motivates you today? I mean, each of us, we've all got our goals for about new stuff, trips, achievements, accomplishments. But once they're accomplished, we usually need something new to motivate us. And what motivates you to keep doing what you're doing? If it's your why, what's your why?
Please, I want to say this in 2 sentences so I can give the other guys more. All I care about is I want to keep getting better every day. I want to keep doing this for the rest of my life. I got a second chance when I didn't deserve it. Somebody took care of me when I didn't deserve it, and I owe forever, and I love owing. Period. End of quote. I hope you see joy in me. I hope you see happiness. I hope you see fun because that's what this is supposed to be. And that's what keeps motivating. I can't wait to wake up every day and do this. I can't wait to meet Tom Love in person, give him a big hug and kiss and tell him how much I appreciate having somebody like that to emulate. Jim Ruta, every time I see him, I hug him and kiss him. I love him. You know, you want to be around people like that. They rub off on you, and that's the joy of what we do. We get to meet all these amazing people. That's for me.
Jim?
Oh, look, I just, I think your motivation or your inspiration has to be a lot bigger than the stuff you might want in this world if you want to make it sustainable. So you can't have stuff. I think that's just it's just a carrot and stick kind of thing. You're just chasing the carrot. I don't think that's how this works. And I certainly, from working with world-class advisors like Van Mueller, you realize that they have it's actually simpler than that. It's, you heard what Van said. I just want to keep getting better. I want to help more people. And frankly, that's what motivates me. I want to keep helping more people, and I want to be helping them in a better way. People say, gee, Ruta, you're at your retirement age here. You should be retired. And I said, retire from what? I love this business. I love what I do. I love this. I love the idea. You heard it at the very beginning in my introduction, to preserve, promote, and propel the life insurance advisor business. And it's what drives me every single day. It drives me more than anything besides my family and my God. Those two things, of course, come first. But after that, it's really about how I can help more. You see, I know that if I help more, I will sell more. I know that. And for me, it's about changing the world one advisor at a time, just changing the world one advisor at a time. And I think something else, I think Tom talked about this earlier, is that we get this idea about our, just sort of, we mature in the business. And at some point you realize that you've got something to say and you want to make sure that other people know it. And that's why Van does this. I know he's committed because of the manager that helped him many years ago to make that transition to the top, is because he now wants to carry that forward to others. And really, I think that's what does it. At least it does it for me. I know it does it for Van. I just want to keep on getting better. I want to keep on helping more, and I want to help better. I want to keep looking for new ways and new angles. And for me, it's this inspiration. That's why I do this. I'm thinking, man, I got pages of notes already on this, and I want to say, how can I find another way, another angle to explain something that is so important that could make one advisor be more successful? For me, it's about helping an advisor help hundreds of people. And if I can help hundreds of advisors, I help thousands of people. And if I can help thousands of advisors, I can help millions of people. And that's how I look at that. And I work around the world as certainly as Van does as well. It's something that motivates me, and it's so much bigger than the stuff. The stuff really, after a while, how much stuff do you need? But this is something that is insatiable in me, that I just want to make more and a larger contribution to this world. Like I said, changing the world. And that's the only reason to give a speech, to be in this business, is to change the world one person at a time. And I hope to God, and I pray, honestly, that I do that. And before I get out of this, I want to remind everybody else that on Tuesday of next week, on June 22nd, is one of the biggest days of the year. You want to circle this in your calendar. It happens to be the 70th birthday of somebody on this stage. You know what? Without Van Mueller, I don't think I would be anywhere near the coach I am. So happy birthday, Van Mueller. I love you, man.
I love you too. Thank you.
So the question, David, is what is my mojo?
What motivates you?
Right through it.
What gets you to do what you do, and why do you do it?
Yeah, Tom, don't show us your mojo on the screen.
No.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it's an interesting question. I've always been fascinated by people who say, I'm not money motivated, and they always have a lot. And when money is no longer an issue, you're allowed to be yourself. And unfortunately, it's backwards. We want to try and be the nice guy that we are, but we need to make a sale. And desperation, as you all know, is a horrible cologne. It absolutely smells. So when My mojo for me is watching an advisor get it. And I'm telling you, there are regional high office, uppity up executive people at insurance companies that do not get what I do, because I go out and if I can motivate an audience and I can get them to sell stuff they didn't know they could sell, and they make money, they look at you and go, Tom, well, you didn't make anything on that. I mean, at my expense, I'll fly and talk to people and they'll, but Tom, you need to make money. No, I don't. No, I don't. I only need one person's life to change. And I see that a lot when either the client all of a sudden goes, holy crap, I didn't know it could do this, or an advisor that goes, oh my gosh, this is now so much easier. And to me, that is what I strive for. And I'm telling people, if you want to get better, teach it. If you want to truly own your space, teach it. And every teacher will tell you, you better be prepared if you're going to go out and teach. And because of that, I practice more than the average person. Van practices more than the average person. Jim's already got pages of stuff that he's going to incorporate in what he does. He's already got purpose. That's what it takes. Stop living in the past. Stop calling yourself dumb. Look at the opportunity that presents itself. And in 2013, I chose to work on me. The industry wasn't getting better. The product wasn't getting better. The only person who could change was me. And I made a conscious effort to look inward to change who I was. And now my only goal in life, you asked what my why is, I want to teach every United States taxpaying citizen how true wealth works, so that if they implemented anything about what I know, they could retire and pay less income tax. My job is not to make everyone stop filing tax returns. My job is to simply say what I believe, why I believe it, and the benefits received, and work with those people who believe as I do. Life has gotten so much easier for me. It is a hell of a lot more fun, a lot more fun. And it's fun because everybody is doing better. Not me. Everybody is doing better. And in this industry, that's what MDRT stands for, how to give back, how to share your idea so somebody else can take it and run with it as well. I've never seen an industry that wants to give back for the people who are in competition with them on a daily basis, that's willing to give away every single secret they have so that everyone can excel in this business. And you saw that today. There's 3 people here that are pretty successful doing what they're doing, and everybody is swapping ideas. If I was an arrogant prick, I wouldn't be here. I would keep it to myself, and that's not what truly successful people do. David.
Wow.
David, if I could just interrupt, and I mean, first of all, yikes. It's amazing. I tell you, I get inspired by this, always have been, by top people. Certainly, Tom, you're one of those. There's 2 things I wanted to say, because something that Tom said got me just reminded me of one of my motivations. Nothing moves me more than seeing great performance. Nothing moves me more than seeing great performance. And it's what I hope I can contribute to on a regular basis. Nothing moves me more than watching an advisor perform better. An advisor, like last year, we take on an advisor in January of last year, somebody who's making about $150,000 a year. At the end of the year, he makes $350,000, and he didn't work any harder, but he learned some things to nearly triple his income. That's what Matt, that's that kind of, by the way, a guy who wouldn't outsmart himself, would actually do what he was told. The most wonderful client I've ever had in so many ways, as far as starting off as he did. Just an amazing guy. And that's one of them. And the other thing related to, people saying, like, money's not a motivator. Tom talked about this. One of the things that is important to remember is that chasing money is kind of like chasing cats. If you chase cats, they run away from you. I have a cat. And the only way I could possibly get that cat is by sitting around and just shaking that bag of treats. The cat will show up. So when I stopped chasing money, money started chasing me. And that happened not that long ago, frankly. Van knows the ups and downs in my business. And by the way, my income in the year 2000 the year 2000, not that long ago. Zero. My income at the end of the year, line 236 in the Canadian T1 tax return, zero. And it is for lots of reasons, but it's a little different today. But I stopped chasing money and money started chasing me. You know, and I think if you're an advisor today, I think you want to think that same thing. Don't chase the money, chase the help. Do what Tom's doing. I want to help the right people. Do what Van's doing. I want to help these people. I want to give them, look what Tom was saying. One person, I could change their entire lives. That's not chasing money. That's chasing the help. That's chasing being someone that they can make a difference. And for all of you out there listening and watching today, remember that. Don't chase the money. Chase the help. David?
Finally, everybody, if you could thank David for doing this. I mean, you know, this doesn't happen, you know, without some work. So make sure that you send him a little note or you send him an email, tell him thank you and for creating that organization that he's created. It, you know, it's become quite a big deal, and he's having to install some rules so that people don't abuse it. But you know, I'm grateful to people like him that are willing to establish scenarios like this. So make sure you say thank you. And I want to be the first. Thank you, David, for doing this. And, thank you for introducing me to one of my idols. I'll take a picture and send you and show you my Thomas Love section of my library. It's it just to get a chance to be on the same program with him.
Well, kudos to you too. Thank you. I still want to grow up and be like you. So if I could have a third of the success that you have, I would be thrilled. I do want. David was talking about having an opportunity to kind of brag for just a minute. Guys, you don't know this, Jim and Van, you don't know this, but I have an idea that I want to bounce off you, and I want people on the call to give their opinion. I have licensed Professionals Forum, and it's not insurance, it's Professionals Forum that I would like to have and hold in Nashville on an annual basis and have it an industry recognized event. It's going to be well past my lifetime that it's as large as some of the industry stalwarts. But I'd like to have your opinion, and I'd like to get everybody's opinion. If you've got your chat window, if we had a weekend event where we had speakers like what you have right now in Nashville, and had a structure where we could have coaching, we could have sales, we could have etc. Who would be interested in hearing that? And Jim and Van, would you consider being on the stage?
Any way I can help. So like I said, somebody's always
100%, 100%, Tom.
Okay. I'm perplexed. Thank you. I'm in. Thank you. All right. Woo.
So David, thank you. Try to stay out of trouble. Try some of the ideas we shared with you. We'd love to see you making top of the table on a regular basis.
Absolutely. No, I loved your question to me last week when you asked me how many years have you been at top of the table, and I said none. You know, I'm not counting myself out, but it was none.
So Van, where do you live?
It won't take long.
Van, where do you live?
I live 100 yards from Northwestern Mutual's home office.
That's right, Milwaukee. That's right. Okay. All right. So I'm in Tennessee, and I'm learning the language of the Tennesseans, and everybody in the group kids me. I'm fixing. I'm fixing to fix. And I don't understand. What do you mean by I'm fixing? That means I'm sort of getting ready to get ready.
Yeah.
Nashville is one of the great foodie cities of late.
Yes.
Hot fried chicken is killer.
Yes. So that's what I'm working with David on. I got to get him off the fixing mode and actually into the doing mode. So,
I've got to pay more attention, because I just thought that Van said that Nashville was the booty city, and I just really, I so apologize for that.
Jimmy, it is. It's the booty city and the foodie city.
Okay, this is way too much detail, brother.
Oh my God. Amazing.
Wow. Well, we're going to keep this more family friendly going forward here.
My apologies. I take that back right now.
Oh, no, that was fun. I like.
Before he shuts this down, the 30 people that are left. This is the greatest time ever to be in insurance and financial profession. There's never been a time like this. And it is the greatest time ever to sell cash value life insurance. For the first time ever in the history of the business, if you sell cash value life insurance, you're the competition. Nobody can touch you. Nobody. It's not even close. I don't care what they tell you about Wall Street. I don't care what they tell you about mutual funds, Bitcoin, gold, silver. You can't do what's going to be necessary to be done to have financial and retirement success unless you understand what a foundational product cash value life insurance is. And a lot of you call me and say, well, what's the best? Is it whole life? Is it index universal life? Is it variable life? And the answer is very easy. Yes. Doesn't matter. Whatever you like, as long as you make sure it does what you told it to do. And in combination with annuities, we sell the three most important benefits of the 21st century. We sell guaranteed income you can't outlive. We sell, this is very important, Tom Hagney used to call them mortality credits, and now we've changed them to a really pretty word called longevity credits. So using guaranteed income that you can't outlive and longevity credits, along with the third benefit of a cash value life insurance, leveraging pennies that buy dollars, $1 that can do the work of many dollars. I can beat anybody, anywhere, anytime, and I can give them a successful financial and retirement future without any problems, even if the interest rates stay at zero until 2024, and if the stock market averages nothing for the next 10 years, they can still win if they understand how to use these products correctly. So it's, please, whatever you need to do to join on, everybody else has talked about it, so I'll quick say, I have a website with a newsletter called vanmiller.com. We have thousands of agents who subscribe to it monthly. I work my buns off on it. If you don't have it, sign up today and we'll send you a whole bunch of bonuses. And I'm telling you, all this stuff that we talked about is there in slow motion. All the questions, all of the narratives for the questions, and so forth. It's I work very hard on it every month. So I'm an agent. I'm still out there. So it's current. It's right to the second, right to the minute. But please understand, this is your time. If anybody ever tells you that you're not worth your commissions, or that they tell you life insurance sucks, or I hate annuities and so should you, I want you to call me on the phone and I will whisper sweet nothings in your ear. You're it. Nobody can touch you. Nobody. And if you don't leave this meeting doing that, then the four of us failed you. This is the greatest time ever to do what we do. And you now have some foundational information that if you try it, I think you'll be blown away how quickly you will be able to dramatically adjust your careers upwards. So
can I
thank you, Van.
Can I say one last thing?
By all means, Jim, and Jim, make sure you talk about your event with Bhupinder on Monday.
I'll do that. I want to just say this, and to pick up on, just piggyback on what Van said, this is the best time ever to be in the business. I think that the pandemic-induced reality has also brought up something else that makes the life insurance advisor business even more valuable than ever. I call this essential financial security. And to me, this is what people are seeing. They've had a lot of uncertainty and insecurity during the last 16 months. your job to help them with the essential financial security, these things that build peace of mind, that is the quality of life. These are the basics, those foundational things that Van talks about make a huge difference, and it'll carry us forward. This is so important today that we talk about essential financial security. And honestly, I even have a fabulous map about this. This is my great demo here. Right, all I've done is only one thing: move the plan up the pyramid and made sure that the essentials, whatever you think is essential, that they come first. You want to plan while protected, not plan while exposed to insurable threats. Put in the extras after the plan, but get those essentials in. I think that's the one job that you, as a life insurance advisor, life insurance agent, can do that nobody else can do. Nobody else can. I just encourage you to do that. If you need more information, ask me. I can send you information. I'm happy to help. I've got a whole piece on how to eliminate essential financial insecurity, and I know it can help you big time. As far as what David was saying with respect to my event on Tuesday next week, this is, again, we're celebrating Van's birthday, apparently, with a meeting with my good buddy Bhupinder Anand from London, England, a guy who is a sales wordsmith wizard. The guy is extraordinary, and he's somebody you will learn a ton from. You can get that information, by the way. You've seen that on as announcements on life insurance discussion group and life insurance agent discussion group. And I thank you very much, David, for that. And it's a delight that you would do that. You can get that at advisorcraft.com/global masterclass, or just go to advisorcraft.com. It's at the very top of the front page. You can't miss it. It's an opportunity. We've got people from 9 countries coming. We're into triple digits as far as people attending. You will not miss it. And you also get the recording when we're done, and the handouts from Bhupinder. It's a conversation he and I are having, much like this, over 2 hours. It will be extraordinary. David, I want to thank you very much. I am blessed. God blesses me every single day that I can be associated with this business and associated with great people like my good friend Van Mueller, who I've known for more than 15 years, and my friend Tom Love. This is a blessing to me. I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank you, David, for what you did and what you do to keep this industry together and to grow it more. God bless you, and God bless all of us on this call. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this panel today.
Oh, thank you for being here. Believe me, I am the primary beneficiary of this one. Tom, please, let's finish it off. We've got Real Talk. We do that on Wednesday. You want to talk a little bit about that, and then the boot camp?
Yeah, the boot camp, I think, is next week. There's a fee for that. You'll get the workbook. It's about 6 hours long. We're going to finish with 5 sales ideas on a napkin where you can open up 6-figure contributions to life insurance. And it's really the why behind what we do and how it works. That's a $500 fee, and you have to register at thebreakawayleague.com, I think is where it is.
Yeah, it's under events. And although I checked it a couple hours ago, registration was not yet open, but I emailed Ben. So hopefully that'll be taken care of soon.
And Real Talk at the Table, I guess is what it's called, or fireside chat, something like that. This is a non-working fireplace, but this is not one of those stupid curtains that kind of hang behind it. Actually, I nailed it against the wall. But what we do is we just spend an hour opening conversations about really anything: processes, product, belief, issues, regulation. One of the neat things that I have when I was on the board of AALU is that organization, which is now FinSecca, Financial Security for All, really has their pulse on what's going on in Washington. And now I'm on the foundation board for FinSecca, trying to raise money to keep the message in Congress, because I've often heard, know your congressman. And I'm telling you, congressmen don't want to know you. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They do want to know us, and they want to hear from us. So if you cannot afford to go to Washington, then send a check to someone who can go and represent what it is we're talking about today. This does not happen free. Everything we get to enjoy is not because they like us. It's because people in Washington are pushing our agenda for the benefit of the American people. And it's an organization that I am proud to represent. That's one of the things that we could talk about at Real Talk at the Table. So it's open to everybody. Every 2 weeks, I will be here, whether there's 4 people or 40 people or soon to be 400. I want to hear from everybody. It's an open forum. And then if you're interested in learning more about what it is that the Breakaway League does, it's thebreakawayleague.com. Thank you, David. And again, I want to thank Van and Jim. This was a pipe dream for me. I just happenstance said to David, why don't we see if we can get 2 of the best in the world to come up with me? Because like I said, I don't feel worthy of being here, but watching the interaction, I will tell you this, what I love about this industry, every single personality trait can be represented. We all know of people in the business that we wouldn't even talk to, yet they're successful. And because there's a spot for everyone in this industry. This is the greatest business in the world. Start treating it as such.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're going to wrap it up. This was amazing. We're going to have it uploaded on YouTube because it will be probably a different view of the frames and everything, but it'll be on there because we want to help promote, especially if we come up to some dates for the professionals forum and the event. This will be part of the marketing. So we're going to have some fun with that.
So Van and Jim, we're thinking of the February of next year. Okay.
Let me know. Let me know, brother.
All righty, we'll be there. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Appreciate everybody.
Thank you all.
God bless. Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday, Van.
Happy birthday, Van.
Happy birthday. He left.
See you guys. Thanks.
Goodbye to all.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, David.
Who's that?
Mr. King. It's Brad Bennett.
Oh, hey, Brad Bennett.
How are